So today's question is why do some people recover from trauma without PTSD while others don't? Well, there can be a number of reasons for this. But first of all, we need to understand what trauma truly is. Many people are far too keen on claiming every unpleasant or stressful experience in life as a form of trauma. Trauma seems to be a buzzword nowadays to such an extent that almost everyone believes that they have some kind of trauma to unpack, and this just isn't true. Your doctor telling you that you have to lose 20 pounds, or your boss telling you that you're bad at your job, isn't trauma. Trauma is ultimately only constituted by incidents or experiences where there's a very real threat to one's life, which completely shatters any sense of security, such as a car accident or being a victim of violence. Emotional trauma is a normal response to this kind of experience, but when these symptoms don't ease up and a person is unable to readjust to normalcy, it's probably a sign that that person has experienced PTSD to some extent. Now, trauma doesn't always lead to PTSD, and whilst every traumatic experience is unique, there may be a number of factors as to why people are less likely to develop PTSD. As a rule, individuals with access to, say, adequate support systems that allow them to process their emotions in a healthy way won't necessarily develop PTSD. Maybe they have meaningful connections with family or friends or other support groups, and they can find adequate comfort and understanding. Those without support systems in place may well find it much more difficult to cope with trauma and therefore are more likely to develop PTSD as a result. Now, the severity and duration of the trauma is another factor, obviously, with more intense or prolonged trauma, of course, being more likely to result in PTSD. But when people experience trauma as children or as adolescents, they may be more likely to develop PTSD since they don't have the mature coping mechanisms that adults will have. And people who've experienced multiple trauma events may also be more likely to develop PTSD than those who've experienced only one brief incident, such as a car crash, for example. Additionally, some people may be more prone to developing PTSD because of, biological factors such as genetics or existing mental health conditions in their families. It's also really important to remember that even those who don't develop PTSD as a result of trauma often experience mental health issues as a result in some other way. Now, furthermore, there's also cases of people who have very good support systems and experience only one brief instance of trauma, yet still develop PTSD. As I mentioned, every trauma experience is really unique and complex, and there's a whole host of factors at play which determine the outcome of every individual case. I know that's a long, rambling answer, but it's the best I can do for you. I suppose it's a long way of saying I don't really know. Maybe it should have been a 5-second video.